I look so silly with that head. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Dun 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 dun. It's art school time. Hello everybody who's watching this after the live is actually streaming. This is Hybrid Miranda and this is Art School Sunday. This is just a little thing I run for about an hour once every Sunday. If anybody has any pressing art questions, they can come in. It's kind of a first come first serve thing and are just waiting for some people to jump in and ask questions. It's different from my tutorials. My tutorials are very direct and structured. This is more of a loose, open kind of art lesson, and it's mostly for fun. It's mostly so I get to interact with you guys directly. I don't do it every Sunday. My schedule's just been like what the bah all over the place, so this is a little bit different. Where did my Wacom pen go? Ah, it is right in front of me. Is it working? Okay, it's working. It wasn't working for the last few days. New. We want to go 300 DPI. Oh, 320, I suppose. 300 DPI. Let's do 2000 by 2000, and we're just going to work with that for now. I'll shrink myself up into the corner. So if you're here and watching and lurking, you can just literally ask me about something to teach, and that's kind of how it works. I'm going to put this on grayscale. Hello, Space M. How are you doing? I'm gonna lock this. And this will be a sketch layer. Ah, man, I had a popsicle for breakfast. I'm just one of those, it's been one of those days where I just have no idea how to function as an adult, so I was lying in bed with my laptop, watching, like, videos on how diesel engines work. And then I was like, oh crap, yeah, I'm supposed to be teaching this morning. It's Art School Sunday. I'm just going to do a warm-up. Space M, are there any things you want to learn? Because you seem to be the only person talking in the comment section, which means that you basically get open question. Whatever you want to learn, you have me for an hour or until somebody else jumps in. Wait a moment. Is it Easter today? Hold up. Holidays are a thing. Time is not an illusion. I think I forgot about Easter. I think I completely forgot about Easter. Oh, robots? Oh, I can teach robots? I can totally do robots. Ha 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 ha, let's do robots. God, I love robots. Yeah, no, I'm mostly Jewish, so stuff like Easter doesn't apply to me, and sometimes I forget that other people actually celebrate holidays. I'm really not that much of a holiday person. I think every day should be a good day. Okay, no, robots is actually a fantastic subject. I love drawing robots. Actually, yeah, let me check to see if it's Easter today. I think we ran right up on Easter. A whoopsie-doo. Okay. Is today Easter? Ah! It's Easter! Shit, I should probably go see my parents after this. Okay. It is Easter. That's probably why we have so few people in here. Okay. Well, I will teach you robots then, specifically for you. Let's make it a quick lesson since I did not realize it was a major holiday. My parents probably want me over. Hey, look at me forgetting about major holidays and interacting with my family. Okay, so I'm going to do some very basic stuff on robots. I've been drawing robots forever. I really like them. So when it comes to mechanical things, okay, I'm gonna just see if I can jump open and show you some mechanical things because just as an example, I really like thinking of robots and any sort of thing like that as essentially metal anatomy, if that makes sense. When you design robots, you really have to think about what's moving and why it's moving in that particular fashion. Now, I wonder if I have the entire thing in here. Web shows. No, it would be under, no, it wouldn't be under work. It would be under school. It would be under BFA. Images. Promo or related art, I believe. I'm trying to see where my hypermechanical drawings went, because I used to have like stuff like this. Show yourself. Yeah, I did this in high school, but I've always been into hypermechanical art. I just haven't been doing it that much lately since I'm concentrating on PIRANTINA. But let's see if I can find, it would have been freshman spring. Design elective? No. Digital synthesis? Lagone! No, okay, I don't know where it went, but if we went into my regular art room, I have a crap ton of pictures that are just mechanical, just mechanical images, and it's really, really cool. I don't know where any of them went, though, which is a problem. A problem. Okay, we're just going to address several different, since I can't seem to find all my robot drawings. All my robots and airplanes are sitting in the wall in the room right behind us. So, well, not in the wall, on the wall. So we're just going to go basic step-by-step robot kind of shit. Now, there are several different joints you kind of want to pay attention to if you want to go into more accurate robotic things. First is the ball joint. So by that, I mean, imagine your robot has to have a shoulder. You're going to have, I'm going to use a generally human model for this. So what you're going to have is a ball joint over here, and then the connection rod coming down for the rest of the arm, right? And so this ball socket can rotate wherever it wants. It's going to be held in a circular socket joint, which you can kind of position in any single way you want. Let's just imagine it's like that, and then you'd have the sternum right over here, but that's besides the point. You want to add some connection points right down here and here, and maybe in here, because you need to fake the pectoral muscle. If you look at your own pectoral muscle, it's right over here. It's pulling your arm inwards. Robots don't have muscles, so you have to fake a muscle. Let's imagine that this is a sliding joint right over here on your... this is turning into like... conceptual mechanics, okay? This sliding joint can run up and down several shafts over here. It has a tiny pin in there, and so it can go up and down depending on how far it needs to be moved. And that means that it itself needs to be able to spin, and it's going to need a kind of, it's going to need a hydraulic pump, you know, one of the ones that looks like this and it pulls or pushes. There's one of those attaching over here and one of those attaching over here. This is bolted in solid because it is pulling and pushing that piece right there. You are really exposing Space-M. You're exposing my hyper-nerdism to the world, because this is the kind of shit I think about when I design robots. And so we're going to have one extra ball joint over here, and it's going to be attaching itself. It's essentially, you combine this piece and this piece over here, and it's making this piece down there. It's going to connect over here. We're going to have another one, another ball joint, connecting down and hitting probably somewhere over there. And so what you're doing is you're creating a system here where you're faking the muscles. So this is the front of the body, right? The back of the body, you have the latissimus over here, which pull downwards. And so this is kind of faking half of a latissimus. There's nothing you can really do about this, unfortunately. How would you pull upwards? You pull upwards using your deltoid, which is literally going like that. There is no replacement for that. Fortunately, hydraulic pumps can push as well as pull, so you don't need to worry about this area. So what I would say is on the back of the shoulder area, we're still going to have, from this perspective, it's going to look like this. Back of the shoulder area is going to look like that. And remember that this is where your latissimus goes, and you're going to have the connection rod running down this way. And so I would put another one of those. You know, we have the double system here, so I'm not gonna spend too much time drawing it again. So I would put another larger, beefier one down there. And so we have one running up this way. We have, so 1, 2, 3. You've basically just recreated a muscle system. So that's what I'd say, Space-M. When you draw robots, try recreating muscle systems with mechanical pieces. And your core mechanical pieces will be ball joints. And remember, it has to have a nice socket that fits pretty snugly around it, so ball joints are one of them. And then you can put a little connection rod down here, something like that. You're also going to get a bunch of hydraulic pumps. And I like connecting hydraulic pumps. You can either connect them like this, and then have them come out like that, and then they'll be straight on these sides and cylindrical. And then they're going to have two more straight pieces coming out this way, and then another connection point. So you're going to have ball joints, you're going to have hydraulic pumps. And then if you want to get into more kind of cartoonish or super, this next one splits in two different ways. It goes cartoonish or it goes hyper sci-fi. So in the cartoonish ways, you're going to see robots that have, you know, a big bulky body, and then their arms look kind of like this, and then they have the cute little hand going out on the side, you know, something like that. And you're going to see this. Like that. So that's the kind of cartoony way, just a tube, and you have no idea what's going on inside of the tube, but it's kind of fun, and it looks a little bit silly. Oh, hi RPS, how are you doing? We're just going over how to draw robots, out of all things. Yeah, so this is the more cartoon tube sleeve. There is, on the other complete end, something more like Doc Ock, where you actually have some serious, you know, cool mechanics going in there. And that's when you start to thinking about how metal intermeshes. And if you look at armor, this is a very, like, old armor, medieval kind of stuff. This is a very good signifier. But the way I like looking at it is, okay, so imagine that we have to have a piece of metal that's curving this way. Who knows what's happening on the inside? And it's a bunch of interlocking pieces, right? So it's probably going to be split into thirds of some sort. Or you know, split into fourths, thirds, even halves, meaning how many, you know, how many individual pieces of metal are surrounding this tube here. And in Doc Ock kind of things, there's two different ways of doing this. There's either really nice interlinking metal, or there's what I kind of call the, I think it's a little bit of a cheap design, but, you know, people do it these days. You know, you have interlocking pieces of metal like this, but there's a gap in between them, which means that when the metal wants to be able to move and shift sideways, here, let me just erase this quickly. Yeah, when the metal wants to be able to move and shift sideways, that means that that gap will be the fill area, like this. So it actually has room to do that shifting motion. The problem is if you're designing like a BattleBot or something like that, the opposite side is now open to be slashed and cut into, and it's exposing all the delicate mesh on the inside. So I actually do not like designing, you know, really good cool robots with a kind of more wavy tentacle system. I don't like designing them like this simply because it gives them a really large weak point. What I like doing is creating interlinking metal. Now what I mean like that, imagine that we have a piece coming this way, it's coming down, and then like this, and that's one of your links. What's happening to the next piece of metal? The next piece of metal starts under here, it comes out, and then it pops upwards like this, and then it can come downwards. And so essentially there's a shelf in here. The metal still starts way back there and there, but it has a dip. You're looking at the entire piece looks like this. And then this piece on top connects straight down to the other one in there. Let's do another version of that right here. So essentially it's making this, except highly armored. And that's kind of the approach I take. Some people say that this is my engineering brain and this isn't something that people normally think about. So it might be, you know, a lot of thinking for other people if they want to make something like this. I know I've applied it to a bunch of really cool pictures though. But yeah, when you're making robots, think about how that robot is going to work. You also have straight up regular joints, kind of like, you know, one over here, a bolt running through to the other side, you know, bolt goes this way, and then you have just a pinion arm or something like that coming like this. Yeah, Space M, kind of like dragon scales. It's like mechanical dragon scales. That's a very, very good way of putting it. Let me show you how I would approach an arm, actually. Because this is a very, very telling kind of an arm is a very telling way of approaching a mechanical drawing. So, like before, we had the ball joint for the shoulder, and I really like using ball joints. They're super duper useful. So ball joint for the shoulder, we have the outside socket, and then it's going to connect to the rest of the body. I'm just going to put in a kind of fake robot body right over here. And then I would increase the size of the ribcage area and put a little bump here, and then we can have another lower, bigger ball joint and an area for the ball joint of the hip to connect, but that comes later. So with an arm, and this is going to be small and this is going to be large, just because we're concentrating on the arm. So we're going to have that part running down this way, right? Or if you want to make it a bit beefier, it doesn't really matter if you want to make it beefier or not. That's completely your preference. So we're going to have the sleeve, that kind of shifty sleeve thing that we saw before running that way. This one's going to be solid. And so this one can move up and down. Remember the movement points. Look at your own body as reference for what movement points are needed. So we need to fake the pectoral muscle, which means we're going to have one running this way and attaching over here. And bulk it out a bit because the hydraulic is larger on one side than the other, so one can kind of go and shift into it. We're going to need to fake the latissimus, and we're going to need to fake something down here. This is essentially a reverse deltoid in my eyes, the one down here. So reverse deltoid coming this way, pushing on there. And then we don't need to really see the latissimus. Now we want to fake the twisting of the arm. So I'm going to put in a socket joint over here. And let's imagine that at this point over here, we have a twisting point. Let's put some bolts in here. So you can make a twist at that point right there. And then the robot's arm comes down this way. And we're going to do a kind of designerly fake kind of bone structure there. Because when you look at your own arm, you can really twist kind of the elbow area, but the biggest twisting comes because you have two connection points in your arm, down by the elbow and up by the wrist. There are two bones running in your forearm called the radius and ulna, and since there are two of them, they can twist around each other. Now, we're restricted by our own anatomy and how we evolved, but robots are not. So we can put a rotation point right over here, and we can put a rotation point at the wrist, which fakes the entire movement in the first place. So robot's rotation point is at the wrist, and you have a kind of bulky connection area, and robotic hands are just a pain in the butt, so we're not really going to go over them. You could, but it's a lot of work. What you're going to have, though, is now you need to fake the muscle that pulls up and down like this. And that muscle is your bicep. And then your tricep is what pulls back downwards. So again, since a hydraulic pump can both push and pull, we only need one of those muscle systems instead of two muscle systems that humans need. So we can connect one right over here and make a new connection over there. And so you've essentially just faked your large muscle groups. Now the fun part is, what kind of armor do you want to put on it, essentially? Or, this is all exposed metal, so we would want to put something on top of that exposed metal. Because, we have... What layer am I making? Okay, there we go. We have skin and stuff to protect our muscular and skeletal systems. The robot doesn't have anything, and it's quite exposed. And this is when you see people going like... and creating caps essentially to go over the robotic pieces. So what you want to think of when making these caps is, how does it need to rotate? This arm needs to move up this way, which means that this cap I just created needs to be able to rotate as well. This is our rotation point right there. So when this guy's arm goes up, this cap also goes upwards. My computer's being slow today. I basically just ate my popsicle, woke it up, and started streaming. And so that's one of your caps over there. You probably want a pectoral plate to cover that area. So let's make something to round it, and it needs a room for itself to go in and move around, because this over here, this is a ball joint running to that area. So we probably want some sort of plastic sleeve wrapping around this. And then you have this area down here. That's probably going to be your most exposed area. And on the human body too, this is our weak point. It's one of our weak points right under the armpit. So you can run some really cool, you know, rib-looking implements over this way and have them connect and, you know, do some cool robot stuff. But you're going to have to put essentially another rubber sleeve system in here and hope nobody tries attacking your robot from that angle. And why am I thinking about robots as being attacked? This could be a peaceful robot. This entire system over here doesn't have any major up and down movement, this elbow area. So we can just, you know, connect a nice sleeve coming up this way until that ball joint area comes. And that's probably where you want to erase. But yeah, right over there, you know, fine, good. There needs to be a sleeve coming around that way because there is your hydraulic area moving that way, so there needs to be a little bit of open space in that area. And then for the forearm can be completely covered outside of this tiny area, so we need to leave an opening here. And I want to make that look more elegant though. We want a happy robot. There we go. And then just like that. And then you can add, you know, fancy decals, whatever you want to it. And then the hand area, again, is just a hot mess. So we're not going to worry about the hand area. So that is Space M. That is essentially what I think about when I like designing robots, is what parts need to move. And how can I, you know, how is this robot going to move? So first think, how is it going to move? And you need to think about in what ways, kind of like, are you going to be using, you know, crazy robot arms, which are kind of a cop-out in a way. They look really cool though. So are you going to be using, you know, your tentacle-like robot arms, or are you going to go through and actually think about your anatomy? Because the next thing you need to know is knowledge of anatomy. And, you know, whatever you're creating. It could be a dragon robot. If it's going to be a dragon robot, you need to know how the bones and muscular system of a dragon works. So actually, when you want to design robots, you have to know biology first. It's actually really, really cool. You can see, my nerd is bleeding and blooming right now. I am admittedly a massive nerd. So yeah, how will it move, look at the anatomy, and then try to make it efficient, I guess, because you could technically have a bunch of, you know, crazy pinion arms everywhere and like, oh, this is a robot that has all these different parts, and then you can add wires hanging depending on what kind of robot you want. Like, there are certain robot, you know, like, yeah, like this. Like, you can create really cool wires running from certain areas. God, I know that there's so many different genres of robot. There's like the super sleek robots, like that came out of the iRobot movie. There's the more clunky, you know, parts everywhere, super tough, everything is tiny, intricate pieces of metal kind of robots, like from Transformer. There's cute, bubbly robots. I don't know. There's stylized robots, like WALL-E robots, for instance. And if you looked at WALL-E, there's actually so many different styles of robots. Eva was like almost like she was designed by Apple or something. And then the Captain, I forget what it was called, the Captain machine robot was really sinister and kind of hung down. The Captain robot reminded me of the robot from Portal 2, actually. And that robot was its own style. There's more cyborg-based robots where they do have these, you know, these wires running everywhere, and I will admit the wires look really cool. Like, I am a big honkin' fan of robots with wires everywhere. The problem is, like, if it, you need to also anatomy, purpose. That's another one you have to think about when designing a robot. Because like this guy over here looks like he's not out for fighting. Honestly, this robot, since now we put all this stuff, looks like a heavier lifting robot. It looks like it's gonna help somebody out, right? Or working in a factory line, walking down the street, gathering groceries. I don't know, kind of a scary robot, but you know, he's still really, really cool. Oh, and then stupid vents. 4. Put stupid vents and wires everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, I don't even know what I'm writing. What does that word say? Photoshop is lagging, so I can't see what I'm writing. Oh, here's another one. That's another connection point over there. Let's put random robot pieces in all these different points. Yeah, but if you want to be a professional like robot designer, which seems to be a thing these days because so many games rely on robots as one of their main points, you need to really start thinking about like how robots work. You need to look at your anatomy. So my biggest tip to you, Space M, study anatomy. If you want to make a creature, look at its bone structure first, and then base it off of the bone structure. Look at the muscles. How do the muscles work? Where do they pull? It's really, really cool. But yeah, that's kind of my suggestions for if you want to draw some super cool robots. Is there anything else that anybody wants to learn before I go? Because I realized it's Sunday, it's Easter, and my mom, despite being Buddhist, enjoys celebrating Easter, and I should really go say hi to her. I love drawing robots so much. You made me jump into a subject matter that I haven't done in a very long time, and it's making me so happy. Just robots. I love robots. Look at this robot. It's terrifying. Wait, do you want to know about how to render metal? If you're going to draw a robot, you should know about how to render metal. Tell me, if you're still around, Space Hem, if you want to learn how to render metal, and then I'll teach you how to render metal, and then I'll yeet myself on out of here. I'm gonna make a super cool looking robot. Let's fake the patella. And that needs to be an overshoot so that we can put a hydraulic thing running down this way. Oh, you're still here? Okay. Yeah, do you want to learn how to render metal? Because I can leave you with that. Or I don't know if you know how to render metal at all. But if you want... Okay, yeah, let's do a quick metal rendering tutorial before I leave. Because essentially this will be the one short how to do robot, very quick overlook of how to do robots thing then. I gave him a really long leg. Okay, so we're going to do the classic... rendering thing where, okay, first of all, when you render something, please put it on a gray background. A gray background gives you space to put in highlights. And if it's on a white background, it'll just have a lot of reflectivity. So, okay, we have a gray background. I'm going to create a horizon line in the back, way far away. And let's make some, not too many, but I'm going to make some perspective lines. I have to get cat food today. Okay, this is a really crappily drawn plane. I'm gonna erase it. Why is Photoshop struggling today? I'm not running that many things. Are you hot, buddy? I think my computer's too hot. Okay, so as per usual, one of the best ways to render is by drawing a sphere. So we're gonna be starting with a sphere. Now, different materials have different amounts of reflectivity. So we're going to put our light source coming from this direction. First of all, your highlights for metal are going to be super duper bright. So put that in there immediately. And immediately that makes your object feel like it's extremely reflective. I'm going to work with the shadows quickly. Yeah, I'm going to put in the shadow that this ball would be casting down here. And this will be important, actually, because the thing about metal is that it's really reflective. It reflects everything around it. And so I'm going to take some of the white from our light source. Come here, you. And I'm going to softly, if I can find the right brush for this, I'm going to softly put a little bit of light falling from behind. Because there is kind of a circle of light that's being created around here. I'll just put I'll put the shadow back in a hot second. There. Yeah, I like that one better. Okay, and let me grab this, drop it down, and remember, the base of your shadow is going to be super dark compared to the rest of your shadow. This is where basically no light is able to get in. So that's going to be darker than everything else, and then it's going to kind of come outwards. So okay, we got a very sloppy shadow. This is like A+ level shadow here. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to grab my old brush. And so imagine this is steel. First of all, steel has a kind of tint to it. Metals sometimes have color. Steel tends to have a slightly bluish tint, and I'm going to start with the steel's mid-tone. Let's just put it in like this. Yeah, this looks like brand new, clean stainless steel. That's kind of what I'm going for in this situation. And that tint doesn't, it's almost like you're just adding that color ever so slightly to whatever reflectivity colors you're working with. So there we go. We got that. And so the other thing, okay, we want to drop down really dark, and you're going to have your shadow coming along the bottom like this. I need to drop this opacity a bit. Okay. A bit? I dropped it down to 13. You're gonna have dark down there, obviously. Let's work with the super darks before we go to the super lights. And then, like any other material, it's going to rise and rise as it gets closer to the top. It's Photoshop, please stop lagging on me. Oh, what's wrong with you, computer? I got you good materials. You don't need to lag on me like this. Okay. You're going to have a pretty bright point up here. Okay, so that's kind of the base. You're going to have a pretty bright point right over here. The fall off, meaning what color it's going to become, is not going to be as intense as in other things. Because if this was a soft material, for instance, this is what I'd be doing. I'd be, no, come here, you. I'd be taking this, and I'd only be doing like a very soft, gentle highlight coming downwards, and then slowly, you know, raising the colors over and over again. So if you wanted to make a soft material, or for instance, maybe a brushed kind of steel, come on, come on, come on. I'm gonna have to reboot my computer. Maybe I need to check the overclock. Yeah, I'd be doing a very gentle highlight and then kind of working it in nice and smoothly like that. So that's what a soft kind of material would look like. But metal reflects almost 100% of the light that hits on it. So you're looking at like a literal mathematical equation here. So 100% reflectivity. So it's going to really reflect that brightest point. And then you might have some scratches that will be catching back and forth. So let's just imagine that this ball has some scratches on it. So you also want to put that light in for the scratches that it's catching. And you can even go in, come here, come here, be a good boy, come on Photoshop, please work with me today. And you can put in a tiny low light running along here. That actually really pushes the idea that there's a scratch running along the surfaces if there's a dark line on top. Kind of like that. So congratulations, you've put some scratches into your metal. It looks like metal. It has a very high point of reflectivity. What about the bottom here? If the metal is reflecting so brightly off of the top, then you'd think that there'd be some reflections on the bottom too, and you'd be right. What you need to do is basically just grab that color and put it in everywhere. It's going to be running along this way. Just look at what's surrounding your ball, essentially. You got this color over here. Let's do the thing. This color is going to be reflecting over here. This color is dark. It's kind of going to be reflecting over here, but mixing with the shadow color. You're going to have the general background color going, whoa, like that. But then even more so, there's going to be this, yeah, there's bright over here too. So you need to essentially flip over in reverse because, you know, a mirror reverses whatever it looks at. So you need to flip over what's happening in order of the dark and light. So the dark is going to be close over here, and then the bright is going to be hitting along the inner edge, and then you get the super dark of the shading. So let me show you what that looks like. Miss Lucy had a baby, his name was Tiny Tim. Okay, so yeah, you're going to include some of that color down there on the bottom of the ball. It's going to be a little bit difficult to differentiate, so we're going to be picking up some other colors in a moment. Then it's going to rise upwards to more of the background color. It's going to be reflecting the background over here. And kind of include that in. I'm going to turn down my opacity a bit, and I'm going to take that color, the atmosphere color essentially, and I'm going to include it in the ball because, again, metal reflects everything around it, and then you just need to include its tint. To make sure we're differentiating the ball from the background itself, I'm just going to use my artistic license and put in a slight outline. That is not slight. That doesn't look slight at all. Come here, you. I, E. Okay, we're gonna fake it. It would help if I wasn't so low opacity. There, that is my equivalent of faking it. And then we can grab some of this darker one and run it up along the outside. Because actually metal usually does have a little bit of an outline running along its outside. That doesn't look right. There's something here that's not measuring up, but I don't have enough time to figure out what it is. Okay, and so essentially what reflection's happening right here is it looks like this. Everything that's happening is being wrapped around the ball kind of like that. So we're going to be taking this bright outline that happened over here, and we're basically going to be wrapping it around the bottom like this. And then pushing it upwards, like making it go away. So that's one. Wow, that looks really metallic all of a sudden, doesn't it? Same thing happens over here. Gonna take that brighter outline that's happening down here and then kind of push it inwards, but eventually it disappears. And then we can whoosh it upwards, make it disappear. I kind of want to... There. I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit, and I just want to make sure that we reflect that brightness down here so it actually looks like the ball is, you know, reflecting that amount of light. But that's the trick for drawing at least polished metal. Polished metal takes everything around it and reflects it, except reversed. So that's how you would draw a piece of metal. And what I'm actually going to do even more so is I'm going to take this slight color over here just to make sure the ball is sitting on its surface. And I'm going to, that's not the right color. We're going to take a darker color and we're going to mock it in over here just so we can differentiate where the ball is sitting on the ground. Because now it feels a lot more visible. So that's how I approach drawing metal. That's only one way. You're probably not going to be drawing direct spheres for your robot. So let's draw a tube. Let's make a tube. Again, I'm going to do an outline for you first. Make this quick. Make it speedy. So, okay. So if I was going to draw a cylinder, I'm going to draw it on a slightly different plane, so this could be a teeny bit confusing. But actually, I'm going to first get rid of this circle. I want to have a clean amount of area to draw on. Okay, so we're going to put in a cylinder. I'm going to put one end of the cylinder. Actually, it wouldn't be lying like that. That's incorrect perspective. I'm going to put one end of the cylinder over here. It's going to come up this way, and it's going to end over there. Let me correct the perspective on this. That's going to bug the heck out of me. Okay, and I want to make it gold. Let's pretend that this is golden. Your base colors of gold are a little bit difficult. Let's start with this. But whenever you shade with gold, you either want to shade with a slight green tone to it or a slight red tone. One of the two, depending on your situation. Usually more of a slight green tone. If you look at gold and how it reflects, it's either going to be a solid red-brown, or in cooler you know, areas, it's going to have a greenish tone to it. Loki, if you look at Loki's design, Loki has a lot of that going on. So let's color in the base color for this gold. There we go. And let's start on our highlights and lowlights. So immediate bright highlights, I like dropping this to a really warm kind of color. We're going to imagine the highlights happening basically directly over it. So running it along the top like that. And then we need to work in some lowlights. Let's grab that color. I'm going to drop it based on the background. We have a neutral tone background, so I'm just going to drop it right about there. And that's what's happening on that side of the tube. Or it's not a tube, really, it's a cylinder. I'm going to lower my opacity, and just like here, you see how we have this darker thing happening? Come on, Control Z for me, baby. You can do it. You can do it. Photoshop. Photoshop. Photoshop froze. Okay, there we go. We're going to be running that shadow down by the bottom and slowly picking it up as it comes to the top. Not like a super duper gradient. See how I left a lot of different levels in there? Metal usually isn't a smooth gradient since it reflects everything around it. It's more like a shiny colored mirror. And now we need to look at our background. Like before, we're going to create a shadow to fall on the background around this, this shape. And since the light's coming from that direction, Photoshop, please function for me right now. Why are you so slow today? Yeah, light's coming from basically right above. So I'm going to put this cylinder coming this way. It's going to go this way. And let's just work with this as our shadow at the moment. And kind of like before, I'm going to imagine that, you know, it's a similar lighting situation. So we're going to put in some highlight around it, and then we're going to have the highlight fall and fade off. Well, not totally. I did this stupid. Yeah, but bright around the edges just to give a lot of contrast. It looks almost like it's hovering, which is not what we want. So let me pick up a different color and let me gently mask in here. Okay, yeah, that looks better. Actually, we still want that really dark line down here to differentiate the tube from everything else. So okay, that'll work for now. We just need to get the base idea down. Yeah, Photoshop is super duper slow today and I don't know why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this one more level right over here, and I'm going to drive that dark one more level over here. So whenever you have metal, your darkest point is not on the opposite side of your shape. It's actually on the line running adjacent, right next to the darkest line on the shape. That actually looks nice, that gold next to that blue color. Okay, anyhow. So like before, gold doesn't, for some reason, whenever I look at gold, it doesn't have like a direct white highlight, so make sure not to make it super duper bright unless you're in a very specific situation. But down over here, we want to take this light color and reflect it onto the bottom of the gold. The thing is, gold, since it's an extreme, it's more of an extreme colored metal, since it's very yellowish, is going to take that color and tone it yellow. So we've picked up this particular tone, but now we want to go into our yellow area and give it, try to come up with an in-between basically that looks correct. So let's see if this one looks correct. That one feels a little bit too bright for me. It has the desaturation that it needs to have, but it's a little bit too bright. I'm not going to wait for Photoshop anymore. Photoshop's having a shit fit today. So I think this works pretty well, right along the edge like that. And now I'm going to pick up this color right over here, and I'm just going to make a highlight along the ridge, and then you can let it fall down. And I'm doing that just to accentuate the shape of the circle, just to make sure people know it's a sphere. Can I put one on the outside? I wouldn't put one on the outside really unless there was a reflection point. I'm going to pick up this color and put a reflection on the outside though. Is that gonna work? Just a little bit. There. Okay. Just to give it a more defined dimension. And then I'm going to take this and drop it one more and make it a little bit darker on top. Because there will be light reflecting, surprisingly, from this area and coming upwards. So you kind of want to make sure that that's visible. And so that's kind of metal from the side. Now, I was talking about reflection points earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some blue lines on the ground. What color we're going to make them? Yeah, I'm going to make them medium blue. I'm going to draw some blue lines on the ground in a grid style, and then we're going to replicate them and see how they would be curving on this. RPS is oh, Sweet Saysek says hi. Excuse me. Hello, Sweet. How are you doing? And RPS is asking, quick question: what set of brushes are you using? I'm using a custom set of brushes that I found online. Okay, I'm going to use a darker blue actually. So this is the base right over here, running like that, and the other side of the base is running like this. Now let's extend that from behind. Come on, you. Like this. Let's make a midline running like this. And let's make 1 and 2 more, just like that. then maybe some lines running along this way. So how would you reflect this back into the metal? I'm gonna make this on a, I'm gonna make this on a new layer just in case. So first of all, you have to look at how these two colors will mix together. It's going to be in the kind of greenish range. So let's put it right about there. What you're going to get is, first of all, this isn't going to reflect that much. We need it to be darker, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Hello, sausage roll. So this line over here is the one we want to concentrate on first. It's going to wrap up and it's almost going to like go whoom like that. And this one's going to do the same thing, whoom, kind of like that. Whoom. And then you're going to get this, you know, the lines. Those the first line's probably going to be somewhere around here. And it's going to be extremely faint because of the very, 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 very strong tilt. And then lighter and lighter, and then it'll just disappear into the, because eventually what happens is when you're looking at the way this is reflecting off and on, this is going to be like this closest point reflects over here, right? This one is all the way over here and bouncing off that way. Let's make some rays. Let's make some light rays. Your first one is going to be down here and bouncing off like that, because you're looking at the surface of the cylinder itself like this. Light ray comes this way, it's going to reflect off, just like that. If a light ray came like this, it would reflect like that. It's basically the surface angle. What surface angle is it hitting off of and how is it reflecting? So that one's reflecting over here. This point is reflecting over here and coming up this way. And you see, as more and more of them reflect, they're going further and further away, which is why it's disappearing into perspective. That's why it's curving away from you. You can't see it anymore. So that's how light rays work, and that's why we can't see these anymore. This looks crazy. This looks really cool. Okay, yeah. That's how, but that's a general quick overview about how metal is rendered and kind of how, you know, you calculate reflections. Because reflections are really, 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 really irritating with metal. Like, really irritating. In fact, I'd say reflections for shiny objects are one of the most difficult things to calculate, especially metal, but this is kind of how I go around calculating metal reflections. Okay, I know a bunch of people just jumped in. I actually have to run off and do... God, what is it called? I have to run off and... Easter. I have to go say hi to my parents, so my mom doesn't go, Miranda, where are you? Okay. I also need to eat something, because all I had was a popsicle today. Oh yeah, Israel is asking, hey, I wanted to ask what application. Yeah, it's Photoshop. Okay, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? You guys are being mischievous. My cats are playing on the floor. Okay, so I'm sorry that a bunch of people jumped into the stream just as it's ending. I think I'm actually going to take this particular stream and condense it and turn it into a tutorial since it's recording, because I want you guys to be able to see what we were talking about right here, because metal can be a little bit difficult. I will see you later. I think I'm dropping a tutorial tomorrow, actually. You know what? I'll come back home after I say hi to my parents, and I will literally turn this into a tutorial and upload it, so you guys will have it. Okay. So let me put myself over here. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching. As per usual, please remember to drink your water, get your sleep, believe in yourself, and chase your dreams. I will see you at a later date. And as per usual, this stream usually runs on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's basically you can drop in and ask whatever you want me to teach, and I will do my best to teach it. I'll see you guys later. Where did OBS